off a couple of screens. Esquivel to Garcia. Off the deflection. Los Fresnos comes back and wins. Now Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
Here's Warner. Here comes the head of the jam. Counted for two. Field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved. What a game.
Smack to the left. That is gone.
Lob for Perez. That's my play. Off the backboard. Counting and a win.
And a win. Brian Perez wins the game for the Santa Rosa Warriors, and they go nuts. And why not?
Well, welcome on and all once again to another Luke Fruia show. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. It's going to be a fun one, of course, a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. In general, of course, yes, we will stay talking about Valley Sports, including, of course, UTRGV basketball, who just finished up their season last night and today in the women's basketball tournament, as well as the men's basketball tournament in the Southland Conference. It was a ride, to say the least, for both of these two schools, for both of these two teams, because both teams, I think, can be good enough for that next step. It's just going to take money. It's just going to take funding, in my eyes, to, of course, keep players here and all that fun stuff. So looking forward to that. Of course, I love to start off the show by always talking about what is coming up here on Rio Sports Live Network for this week in RSLN. And let's take a look at what is coming up here very, very soon. And it's going to be exciting this week for what is coming up in general. Because, well, I mean, we're going to get this Friday, indeed. It is on the schedule, so check, of course, RSL Network for all the timing and for all the events. Let's, of course, start off with Thursday. Baseball, you have 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m. That's going to be Santa Rosa baseball. So that should be exciting. Soccer season is this week, and it's upon us this Friday. For girls soccer, for boys and girls soccer, I should say, the boys play at 6 p.m. That's McAllen Memorial and Mackay Bulldogs. And then the girls soccer is going to be none other than the Lady Bulldogs taking on McAllen Memorial Girls Lady Mustangs, of course. That's for district play. We'll, of course, break that down for you all. We will have enough time to do exactly that. Saturday is all baseball action from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that one should be very exciting once again. All Santa Rosa baseball, Santa Rosa, Idea Donna, and Santa Rosa. They play Idea Donna, they play San Perlita, and Monte Alto. A lot of smaller districts, a lot of smaller teams, of course, because all the rest of the districts, they're in conference play. They're in district play for excitement, of course, coming this week. So that's going to be very exciting in itself. Looking forward to all the games coming up this week. Of course, there's plenty to talk about, like we mentioned. The biggest thing that we will be talking about is, of course, bracketology, because it is the Wednesday before Sunday. What do I mean by that? It's Selection Sunday this upcoming week, and so that's going to be very exciting to talk about in general, indeed. So we have that. We'll have none other than we'll have, of course, break down, of course, like I mentioned, the soccer portion of all of it, and possibly NFL, but really I want to stay away from that just in general. But it's going to be very exciting, like I mentioned, for this show. So much to talk about. With only an hour, it's going to be exciting. Also, of course, with this, we'll talk a little bit Samantha Tan racing news, a little bit of that, because that's very exciting. What IMSA does every single year, it's called a scholarship And so there's always finalists to see who will win the scholarship and potentially have a chance at a full ride for most likely the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Challenge or somewhere along that line. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. We're going to take a quick little break. When we return, we will get you all with all of that news coming up here very shortly. Stay tuned.
It means a lot to me. TSC has changed me to make me realize that I can accomplish things. Just don't give up. I've come a long way from where I was to what I am now, and there's no limit to where I'm going.
Elevation, AT4, AT4X, Denali. Case closed. Fruia GMC, we're professional grade.
Back we go once again here. This is an exciting, of course, start to the show. Once again, I'm Jake Young, Rio Sports Live Network. Here are Luke Fruia, Buick GMC, and Cadillac. If you're in the market for a new car, well, come check out Luke Fruia, Buick GMC, and Cadillac here off of Price Road, Old Alice Road. And this is going to be very exciting of a show, like we mentioned. The first thing that I want to talk about, of course, is going to be the soccer. There, of course, was a top 10 list. That's very exciting. Once again, it always is from RSL Network. And so I always love to kind of take a look at it, especially from the boys and girls soccer side of things. And so let's take a look at it here, as we had a couple of games, of course, last night. So it's kind of blocked by all of that, but then you go into it. The top 10 RGV girls soccer teams, of course, one. This is the RSL list right now. 1 is Harlingen High, 2 is McAllen Memorial, 3 is Mac High, 4 is Brownsville Rivetta, 5 is Harlingen South, with 6 being Edinburgh North, and then 7th being Westago High, Nicky Rowe at 8, very fair on 8 right there. 9 is La Jolla, 1 is Lincoln, 10 is Idea Quest, Edinburgh. It's interesting, of course, to note that there's, in the top 10, there's no Mission Veterans Memorial, and there's also no Edinburgh Vella High School. I'm going to take a look at least at Edinburgh Vella High School for the list right here, because Edinburgh Vella, for girls soccer, it's you expect for that team to always make the playoffs. And any team, in my eyes, that make it into the 31-5A girls soccer playoffs, as in into the top 4, you keep that team there. And you keep that team in the top 10 and in the Valley. I believe that is the truth, where that's the best team. That's the best district, I should say, where all 4 of those deserve to be in the top 10, as long as, of course, they make the playoffs. Let's talk about, of course, the standings very quickly. Rowe in 3rd place, Edinburgh Vella in 4th. That's my point, is that's your top 4. Rowe, of course, are in 3rd place. They did play against each other not too long ago, both of these two schools. And it ended up being a 2-1 final, Rowe beating Edinburgh Vella. And that's my whole point is, yes, Vella lost, but that is a 3rd or 2nd team in any other district. I go back to it constantly. 31-5A, I believe, is the best district in girls soccer by far. 32-5A is okay, but I don't expect any of them to beat the top 4 teams coming up. Edinburgh North girls soccer, I think that they're very good in 31-6A. So, yes, they deserve to be in that top 10. Idea Quest Edinburgh getting put into the top 10 it's always interesting to me because I remember this where there was a bye week. This was the season after COVID, so it was in 2021. And the games are spread out like this, and I loved it. Where Monday you had a game, Tuesday you had a game. It's going to be the boys on Monday or the girls on Monday, and the boys or girls on Tuesday. Basically, that's how it was. And so one of the games, it was one of the Idea schools playing against Sherryland School. This is back when Sherryland High School for girls soccer were one of the top elite teams. It's just the players that came through there, and all of it was absolutely amazing. And Sherryland High School won 12 goals to 0 against the Idea schools. That's my point in the sense of I don't necessarily know or would agree with that top 10 and with, of course, Idea Quest being number 10. Now, number 1, yes, I understand. It's because those two schools played against each other in the early goings. In a preseason friendly at the first game of the season where neither side have their players there. It's also Christmas break at the time. That game should not be leveled at anything more than it was just a friendly, and it doesn't even count on max preps too. Like that's on both sides. They don't keep tabs of that game. That's kind of my point on that. But Harlingen High, of course, you can look at the goal differential and say, okay, that's why they're number 1. They beat teams 8 goals to 0. And McAllen Memorial, they win 4-0, 5-0, or anything like that, and not by a lot of goals. And you look at, of course, we go back to it. McAllen Memorial, they had a bye week or a bye game this past Tuesday, and they didn't play anyone. As for Mac High, the Lady Bulldogs, they did, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yes, it's going to be a big match, 20-0, 15-0. For McAllen Memorial, they're trying to finish off their season perfectly and win district as well. The district championship does come down to it at 8 p.m. on the 13th at Boxer Ananda Stadium for McAllen Memorial and the Mac High Lady Bulldogs. The Mac High Lady Bulldogs, of course, they only have one loss. They ended up winning 8-0 against PSJ North last night. So that was, of course, the final score that we wanted to know about just to see. And McAllen High School able to get the job done there. They're 14-2 overall, but 9-1 in district is what you want to keep an eye on. And so both teams, well, McAllen Memorial have, of course, one game in hand, or not one game in hand, but McAllen Memorial, they have basically 3 points over the Mac High Lady Bulldogs because none of those matches for the Mac High Lady Bulldogs ended up going into PKs either. It was a 1-0 loss in regulation to McAllen Memorial High School. And the rest of the matches, like we mentioned, those were won in regulation. And so, really, it comes down to this final match. McAllen Memorial with an opportunity to win district again, this time at home. The biggest thing to think about is, if I'm not mistaken, the way that this could change is, yes, Mac High do win, but then I think it goes to goal differential. I really do believe it will go to goal differential for district. And that's where it's interesting, to say the least. For McAllen Memorial, they average 5.4 goals, 5 goals, basically a match, 5 to 6 goals. As for the Mac High Lady Bulldogs, they average 4 goals a match indeed. So, head-to-head, of course, McAllen Memorial won 1-0, like we mentioned, and 1-0. McAllen Memorial are perfect at home. They have not lost. And McAllen Memorial, too, the Lady Mustangs, and why I keep talking about them, well, because guess what? The Lady Mustangs have not lost a match in district play since 2024. Since the 2024 season have they lost. It's over 50 district wins. This is the first time in program history that has been the case. Coach Matthew Kaiser has been coaching a phenomenal season for this team. And on top of that, this rivalry gets even more interesting because on the other side, Coach Patrick Arney, the head coach of the Mackay Lady Bulldogs, he was officially inducted into the RGV Sports Hall of Fame this past week around that time. It was the same with Celso Gonzalez as well. And so there's a lot of big people that got inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. And the reason, of course, why for Coach Patrick Harney, he's won so many championships, so many district titles over McAllen Memorial as well. And there's no question about how successful he has been with, of course, the success of having the players that he's had come through McAllen High School. So we're looking forward to this game in general. We should have it covered for you all. And it's going to be close. Like we mentioned, both teams average just a goal under each team. McAllen Memorial, the most goals that they have allowed this season in district play. Let's start off with district play. Because even their losses that they've had, even McAllen Memorial's losses have only been by 2-0 against New Braunfels. Or check that, that's actually McAllen High Schools. So let me rephrase it. Because for McAllen Memorial, their largest deficit this season in non-district play has been nothing. They have not lost a single match. As for the Mackay Lady Bulldogs, their only loss in non-district play has been by 2. That's been the Lady Bulldogs' largest deficit. McAllen Memorial, they've only given up, for the most part, 2 goals per victory that they've had. 2-1 over Villa, 3-2 over Rowe with a hat trick by Kennedy Kaiser. This is a match to look out for. 3 goals given up by San Antonio J, but they scored 9. Whole point is this is going to be a tight game. This is for district. The goal differential will matter if the Mackay Lady Bulldogs win, but if the Mackay Lady Bulldogs only get to penalty kicks, guess what? McAllen Memorial wins district by the point total. They would end up having 4 points. Mackay would only get 1. So all McAllen Memorial need is a draw. They want the victory. Let's be clear. They want the victory. They want to stay perfect heading into the playoffs. Here's a fun fact. Both of these two teams, when they head to the playoffs, will be in completely different sides of the bracket. Not even sides of the bracket. Let me be more specific. 2 different divisions. Division 1 will be where the Mackay Lady Bulldogs will be. Division 2 will be where the McAllen Memorial Lady Mustangs will be. This is only for district. These 2 schools cannot meet against each other anymore after this. That is the interesting part about it. And again, like I mentioned, we're looking forward to bringing you all the coverage this season. And for this final match, we didn't get to get the first matchup, but we will make sure to have the second one covered for you all here on Rio Sports Live Network, so we know how important that game will be. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to being able to cover that one, be there live for this epic matchup. It's Kennedy Kaiser's final home match of the regular season, too. She is a senior. A reminder, she has committed to and signed to Oklahoma University. She will be a Sooner. And that's very exciting indeed. Power 4 conference opportunity to prove herself that she belongs in a D1 Power 4 school too. And so it's just the way that it has been for Kennedy Kaiser does not. The season, they don't want the season to end here. It will not. They will be going to playoffs no matter what. It's just about who's walking away with a district title. So extremely exciting once again here. And so that's a game. So like I mentioned, for McAllen Memorial, I just feel like they are the better side in general. But I've talked about this all season long, and I've talked about the rankings and how I do believe that it is, but it's such an even argument, as in both teams are undefeated. One team is killing more teams by more goals. And so the goal differential, that's why people would argue that saying Harlingen is better. That's why they'd be number 1 and 2. That is completely fair. I just believe it's flipped. Now, like I mentioned, that third team, though, McAllen High, that is completely fine with them being in that three spot. Brownsville Ravenna being in the 4 spot is interesting to say the least once again. But I don't... It's tough to say because they've been winning a lot of matches. They've been winning a lot of games. This has been a successful team. And I expect for them to continue to be that successful. But winning that first round again, which I believe either starts next week or the week after, I don't know if they have enough to defeat a 31-5A school. I've seen it before, but they proved me wrong last year. This Brownsville Rivera school proved me wrong last year and defeated McAllen Rowe. Here's the main thing. As for Brownsville Rivera, let's check out their schedule really quickly, and let's let you know, I believe, that they are potentially district champions for girls soccer, because this is a big thing. With the standings, they do play against Wesco East High School, but Brownsville Rivera, yes, they have one district. So their most likely matchup will be against Edinburgh Villa. Here's where I can see Brownsville Rivera winning, and here's where I can definitely see why Edinburgh Villa are not in the top 10. And this is completely fair to me as well. Villa miss opportunities on the field to score goals. This is the reason why they sit in 4th place instead of potentially sitting in 3rd place over McAllen Rowe, or even had a chance, of course, to upset McAllen High School. It's, as well as McAllen Memorial, like just a lot of chances missed because they could not get shots on target or even off target. Having those opportunities, they would set up a great play and lose the battle near midfield or anything like that. Brownsville Rivera take advantage of those opportunities and they score. That's where it lies. Yes, I'm kind of retracting my statement. That's why Brownsville Rivera are where they're at in that standings, in a way, from RSL Network. And it's completely fair. Now, can they get upset? Yes. I think Edinburgh Villa, if Edinburgh Villa, and this is the truth, play that perfect style of football, play that perfect style of soccer, in the playoffs, there's a great chance that Edinburgh Villa are walking out of Sam Stadium or away from home. Because remember, they'll most likely flip. They could walk away with it from there from an upset. That's the truth. That's where we're at. It's very exciting once again. I'm looking forward to seeing how the playoffs will shape up after this Friday, and looking forward to it. There's really not anything else that I can say, not necessarily that I'm worried about for the top 10 or anything like that, but those are the only sort of concerns that I had for that top 10. La Jolla, Waters, Lincoln at 9. I completely understand why also Mission Veterans Memorial aren't in the top 10 anymore. They've dropped some matches that they could have easily won. So can they get to the second round? That's going to be difficult because, well, it's 29 versus 30, 31 versus 32, 29 5A versus 35A. That one's always exciting. Some Laredo schools, too, also schools in the Mission, La Jolla, Rio Grande City area, to Coastal Bend. We're talking Flower Bluff. We're talking Veterans Memorial. In Corpus Christi Vets, we're talking Corpus Christi King, all those teams that you're used to seeing in football make it. A lot of those have strong soccer teams. Gregory Portland is another dominant force. It's always a difficult one to defeat in that by-district first round. That's the truth. Who knows how it will be. Area round will be fun. That first round, it's going to be exciting, too. We'll wait and see how it all plays out this upcoming Friday. And then we'll get, of course, who's going to be where for the first round of playoffs. We're going to take a break. When we return, yes, we will, head into talking UTRGV basketball. We'll start off with the men's, and then we'll go to the women's game that was this morning. How did they end up in those positions, and what was their fate in the end? We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
I fell on a loose towel at the grocery store, and now they're saying it's my fault. Do you think you could help?
Of course I can help. You should be focused on feeling better.
Oh, thank you, Law Champ. Hey, do you think I can get a selfie?
Of course.
This is the island where adulting takes its own vacation. South Padre is more than an island. It's the island.
The middle. It's in! That's another touchdown! Keeps the line. Now that becomes a hit. And that's going to be a fumble recovered by the Cardinals. Back we go once again to hear from Luke Fruia Buick GMC and Cadillac. Luke Fruia Motors here on Price Road, Old Alice Road. I'm Jake Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. It's going to be a great second half of this show, as well as we talked a little bit about the girls' soccer side on the first half. And now the second half, well, here's a big thing. Southland Conference tournament time. Both UTRGV men's and women's basketball were able to lock themselves into the conference tournament last week, which was exciting. They played their last regular season game, not this past Monday, but the Monday before this past Monday. And then, of course, waited that week and left to the Southland Conference tournament. The men's team did on Sunday. I believe the women's team left on that Saturday. And was going to be interesting, to say the least. So the men's team started off. Of course, they got the bye. They were the 3 seed going to the second round, which would be the quarterfinals. Played against Nichols, took care of business very easily in that first round for the men's side. The women's team still had not played yet. Their quarterfinal matchup, I believe, was the next day after that. And then the women's team were able to play their game, got the job done as well, 76-67. So both teams were able to take care of business in that first round, the quarterfinals to be exact. Their first round, they got a bye to that quarterfinals. And then for the men's side, Tuesday night, last night, it was a late game, 8:30 p.m. tip-off, 9:30 p.m. local time to be exact. That was in Lake Charles, which is where McNeese plays basketball. And so McNeese with that opportunity to play basketball. Oh, and sure enough, McNeese, of course, they ended up finishing second in the conference behind Stephen F. Austin. In that regular season, it was absolutely amazing to watch because UTRGV men's basketball started off slow and then all of a sudden got on an 8-game winning streak in conference play and had an opportunity to really make waves on a doubleheader where the women's team played first and the men's played second, and the women's team lost in a heartbreaker on that one, and the men lost by 10 against none other than Stephen F. Austin. And this is why it was so crazy, because with that loss, just UTRGV needed to bounce back, and they had some wins and all of that, but ended up being a big loss, as well as at McNeese, to the point of where they did not end up getting the second seed where McNeese was. They faltered to that third spot and stayed there for the rest of the regular season, which is fine. Meanwhile, on the opposite side of the bracket, Texas A&M Corpus Christi were trying to make a Cinderella run, and the quarterfinal game before that was such a close game. Just a chance for Texas A&M Corpus Christi to win. They ended up losing just, and so one Texas team is out of the Southland Conference. Stephen F. Austin ended up winning, of course. And then it was time for the big game of the evening. McNeese hosting UTRGV. Again, it was where they played. It was at McNeese's arena. They're able to exchange the court for a Bland Southland Conference court, to be exact, tournament court. It looks absolutely fantastic. I say Bland because it's supposed to be a neutral site tournament, to be exact, and that's kind of how it was. First half starts off, UTRGV seemed sluggish. They were down by a good amount at the first half, and it was frustrating, of course, to watch. The turnovers were bad, the missed threes, opportunities from none other than UTRGV. Just the struggle was there. It was going to take not necessarily a miracle, but just a tactical change for UTRGV to come back into this one and win. Well, UTRGV and coach did exactly that. They tweaked a couple of things out. All of a sudden, UTRGV were hitting shots that they weren't hitting in the first half, forcing a couple of turnovers to go their way, getting opportunities, climbing back into it. All of a sudden, it's a close game. UTRGV lead late. UTRGV continued to lead late. And then McNeese kept on what the problem has been with UTRGV all season long, 3-pointers. Defensively, struggled to guard 3-point attempts. And McNeese stayed in that game with 3-pointers, sure enough. Able to send it into overtime. In the first overtime, UTRGV, they took the lead. They took control of that overtime game. Had a chance to end it as well. Missed a couple of free throws. But not only that, missed some rebounds. And then had an opportunity with a last-second shot. And tried to get that one, missing the 2-foot shot. We head into overtime number 2. UTRGV, another opportunity late in the game to close it out, missing those opportunities, and sure enough, could not get the job done in overtime period number 2. McNeese hitting a late 3 to tie it up. But UTRGV were up by about 4 at that point. Then it was cut to 3 by a free throw made. At that point, Corey Cotton had gotten subbed out of the game because he had fouled out, as well as Philip Prankovic, if I'm not mistaken, too, at that time had fouled out of the basketball game, too. So 2 big key players for UTRGV ended up being fouled out of the game. So that bench ended up shrinking for UTRGV, and it was unfortunate to see. Again, UTRGV having that opportunity, trying for that 2-pointer, misses. And sure enough, we head into a third overtime. This is where it seemed like it was going to be McNeese shining early on. 4-point advantage right off the bat for McNeese. They controlled that overtime period, and even UTRGV still had a chance down by 2 with only seconds remaining in the game. About 10 seconds at the time they bring it up the court and trying to pass around the 3-point line. You see one of the defenders from McNeese intercepted, basically just coming by and getting it. Reading the pass well is what I was trying to say, and goes in for a dunk, and that was 82-80 at the time before it ended up being 84-80. UTRGV will fall and get eliminated in the quarterfinals. Check that, in the semifinals by 4 to McNeese. So, unfortunate there. This was a team that had a lot of problems that could have, in a way, made it to the conference final to play against Stephen F. Austin. So anyways, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
Texas Southmost College. Our automotive technology program will train you in everything from maintenance to full vehicle systems repair. Earn a certificate or associate degree and get certified to work as a C maintenance or B-level technician. You'll be guided by seasoned instructors who have decades of real-world automotive experience, helping you get ready to roll into the industry. So take the wheel and apply today at tsc.edu.
No importa en cuál etapa de tu vida te encuentres, Texas Southmost College está aquí para ayudarte a progresar. Ya sea que estés empezando desde cero, cambiando de carrera o adquiriendo nuevas habilidades, TSC tiene programas accesibles diseñados para adaptarse a tus metas. Es hora de dar el siguiente paso. Piensa en grande, piensa claramente, piensa en TSC.
So back we go once again here. Yeah, no, it was an interesting game, to say the least. The way that UTRGV fought back in that one, had an opportunity to win in regulation and 2 overtime periods. It showed the fight that this team had, and they were a fantastic team throughout the season. You could see that growth of the team and how bonded they were together, how much of team chemistry it was. I remember, of course, going to the Stephen F. Austin game. I remember going to, I believe, the Lamar game, if I'm not mistaken, and Northwestern State. I went to about 3 of those games for the men's basketball team when they were home late in the season. And you could tell that they were united as one. The post-game press conferences were always funny, not the post-game pressers, but the post-game interviews, of course, done by, well, ESPN Plus sideline reporter, ESPN sideline reporter for the UTRGV Vaqueros, Jada Real. But you could see, I've got some cool pictures of them as well, as where it's just the whole entire team kind of comes in together. They're very excited for Philip Brankovic or for anybody that got the player of the game because they score the most points, of course, getting that interview. And then, of course, they allow them to have their own spotlight in the end. But you could just tell how excited they were for all the players that showed up that evening or whenever the game was. Just united as one. And we're going to miss that team because, well, there's a lot of seniors on the team, a lot of graduate transfers, and there's no saying that even those players that shine that were not seniors might not come back. Now, of course, because we all know it's the transfer portal will open up for basketball, and you'll have some of them go to possibly a Power 4 school. Possibly see some of them at A&M, Texas, or wherever, they end up going. That's the way that we're going to see this in the tournament, or in general. But the way that it was in general, the way that the fight was this season, UTRGV are right there. In my eyes, this is the first time in a while that I've seen UTRGV, especially now in the Southland Conference, be this close to having that breakout season, to having this not only breakout season, but to win the conference, the regular season conference title, and then to win the conference tournament too. Takes investment. It really takes investment in my eyes, and I know a lot of people will agree on that. Guess what? UTRGV with their football program, and I was talking to some people today as well, that's only going to help. I didn't realize this, but, that's where the money does come from, is going to be football. If UTRGV football are successful and do well, and how much money that it's put into that, they generate the money, and you start to see the success with the basketball team. There is definitely correlation to that. They're going to want a couple of those players to stay that aren't seniors or graduate transfers. And then on top of that, they're going to want to beef up their team in general. And it's going to happen in the Southland. Now there's actually a sense of, okay, it's going to be worth it to come down to Edinburgh to play basketball. I really do believe that now, with just a success right off the bat, semifinals, break through to the finals, and break through to the NCAA tournament. The one thing that I do want to see one of those days is that banner that says NCAA tournament appearance in the 68-team field. Because we already have one back from the WAC days, the Western Athletic Conference days for volleyball, for women's volleyball. That they made in 2016. They made an NCAA tournament appearance by winning the WAC championship. So that was something special. Back in the day, a long time ago, UTRGV won some conference tournaments and were able to actually, back when they were UTPA, and were able to make it to the NIT tournament. That's already impressive in itself for a mid-major like that, where they didn't have as many automatic bids as they do now. I don't think that at one point they had a Southland Conference bid. They didn't have the Western Athletic Conference bid, automatic bid. Those, they had to win a lot of big non-conference games in order to, and their RPI and net now had to be perfect and all of this, and the committee had to be impressed with them. So that's where it is. That's where it kind of has been, to say the least. As for that team, it's going to be exciting. So now, of course, as we broke down, of course, how the men's tournament ended up going, let's talk about the women's tournament. Same deal this time. They were the 4 seed for the women's team. Lost a couple of close games late in the season to push them back to that 4th seed. Had an opportunity at one point of the 2nd seed, and that did not end up happening, unfortunately. And, of course, team led by Charlotte O'Keefe, a key senior on that team, will, of course, graduate and potentially be playing basketball overseas. There's a good chance of that. But let's get into it. UTRGV women's basketball, that was a fun team to kind of watch and root for in general. And not only for that, but then you go on to the next players. And going down the line, you could see a lot of success from that team. They could score points. And so able to get the job done in the first round, that quarterfinal, 76-67, as we talked about with that victory. And it was all led by Ingram. It was led by a lot of those players. Jalea Ingram, to be exact. Newcomer of the year as well in the Southland Conference, too. And you had a lot of, not all attorneys, but you had a lot of all Southland Conference players from that team that made that list. And so, again, very successful off of that year. Winning the most games in program history, I believe, for the Southland Conference, winning over 20, which was very impressive. So it might have been in program history. Point is, it was a successful season. UTRGV, of course, getting the job done in the quarterfinals to play McNeese in the semifinals. Could UTRGV women avenge the loss from the night before, 10:30 a.m., of course, tip-off? Well, it started off a slow start for UTRGV women's basketball in the first quarter, but they were able to get back to it and keep it close at the end of the first quarter. Second quarter of play, they ended up actually taking the lead with about 7 seconds left in the first half of play. McNeese called a timeout. They talk it over, getting down the floor, and all of a sudden a three-pointer late to take the lead 31-30. So it's 31-30. And UTRGV in that second quarter had outscored McNeese, I believe, McNeese about 20. It was close to 10 points in that second quarter of play, and it was all UTRGV, and it looked very convincing for that third quarter. The third quarter starts, and McNeese did a fantastic job of adjusting their team to play very tough defense, from full court pressure, double teaming Charlotte will keep forcing turnover after turnover from UTRGV. UTRGV in that third quarter, the women's basketball team to be exact, as we have the box score for you all. This was a key thing. So in the second quarter, it was only by 2 points. UTRGV only outscored McNeese State 17-15, McNeese to be exact. In that third quarter, McNeese scoring 23 points in that third quarter alone, and UTRGV only scoring 13. So outscoring UTRGV by 10 in the third quarter by that full court defense. By that defense was key. And then UTRGV only scoring 9 in the fourth quarter of play. That was the dagger. That was just fantastic defense by McNeese. There's a reason why that team won the Southland Conference regular season and the 1 seed is because of the way that they can play defense well. I expect McNeese to defeat the Southland Conference tournament, or the second semifinalist that won, as I'm not entirely certain on who. Let's find that out together, as the game should be done and dusted by now. So quickly going with the Southland Sports just to make sure that we know who. Looks like actually Lamar was trying to win. They were the number 2 seed over Stephen F. Austin. And so let's check out really quickly Lamar women's basketball, because it is the fourth quarter, so it's not over just yet. There's still 1:46 left to play in that fourth quarter. It's 52-49 Lamar, so it's still a very close game, only a 3-point game right there. But like I said, the way that McNeese have played, it's looking like you're most likely going to see McNeese to the tournament. I don't expect any of the men's or women's side to get 2 teams in. I was looking at the net rankings, and now Stephen F. Austin actually fell behind McNeese in the net rankings. They might have been behind the whole time, but now Stephen F. Austin basically, if they get the win, if even on the men's side, if they win the tournament, I don't expect for any of the Southland Conference teams to get in besides the conference champion. The way that the bubble has been, it's such a weak bubble. You're going to see a lot more power teams get in. You're not going to see you might not see Miami, Ohio go in, is what I'm trying to say as well. It's going to be a shame, but that's the life of a mid-major school. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a little frustrating for sure if that ends up happening by the committee to a lot of people, but who knows? So, yeah, that's, of course, our talk on how UTRGV basketball finished up their season. One more thing, of course, last night as well, UTRGV baseball played against none other than Louisiana, the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. And that was going to be an interesting one. Could UTRGV pull off that upset? As the Raging Cajuns, if you don't know, or if I'm not mistaken, it was them pulling off an upset against LSU. And, of course, let me make sure, actually, Louisiana Raging Cajuns baseball. Raging Cajuns baseball. Just making sure that I have the facts correct for you all, as they did win 11-7 last night against UTRGV. But then beforehand, lost 12-1. Let's see here, LSU baseball. That will tell us everything, basically. Just trying to get to what we were talking about very quickly, because they are, if I do recall, a very good team. So 12-1 over Nicole's. 14-7 over Indiana. I was wrong about that, is what it looks like. So yes, they did not play. They played against McNeese, lost 7-6. And they did play against Louisiana Raging Cajuns and lost 7-2. So yes, I was correct on that. That the Louisiana Raging Cajuns are a pretty good baseball team in general, getting the job done in that note. So yeah, it was going to be a difficult game to win, but Louisiana got the job done. And unfortunately for UTRGV, they still need to fix their pitching at the moment. That's what has been the problem. The issues, it seems like when the bats get going, it seems good. UTRGV, of course, most likely trying to save their ace and trying to get a win on the road for a series victory on the road, and hopefully could get a potential sweep on the road as well this upcoming weekend. So a lot of weekend things to get you ready for in general here at, well, Luke Fruia Buick GMC. Again, big matchups this weekend. That is actually going to end up doing it for us here from Luke Fruia Buick GMC and Cadillac. It's been a very interesting show, and a quick show to say the least. And we're looking forward to bring you all more coverage this week of baseball and soccer, as well as softball on top of that. Yeah, once again, I've been Jacob Young. This has been a Real Sports Live presentation. And until next time, we will see you all very soon.